Welcome back to MMA Al Dente. I'm here to talk about Gabriel Bonfim versus Trevin Giles. Bonfim is 14-0 as a pro, 25 years old, and he's got 1 inch of height, but he's giving up 2 inches of reach to 30-year-old Giles, who is 16-4. Bonfim, he's got 14 finishes in his 14 wins, 3 via knockout or TKO, 11 via submission. This guy, despite being primarily a boxer, first and foremost, he is, as an MMA fighter, a submission artist. I should say first he's a boxer, but foremost he's a submission artist. And there can be no doubt about that. I mean, the record doesn't lie, and we've seen him fight. The few fights he's fought at a higher level, it's primarily been his ground game that gets it done. He's got 2 wins over current UFC fighters. Mounir Lazzez, in his UFC debut, he tapped him out with a guillotine in 45 seconds. And Trey Waters, who is now in the UFC with a win over Josh Quinlan, I believe. And he Von Flue choked him in round 1 on the Contender Series. And that was after dealing with the long range of Trevin Giles. And I thought Bonfim was about to take over the striking battle, but instead he just took it to the mat and got it done there. He got 2 solid wins in the LFA. Those are his 2 best wins outside of the UFC. He beat this guy Eduardo Garvin with a Darce in round 1, and Brenner something, not Elvis Brenner, but Brenner something, and he knocked the guy out in round 3 in the LFA, which always good to get a 3rd round finish, and really cool for him to get it with his hands, because, you know, just rounds out his record a bit more and reminds everybody of the striking. But here against Trevin Giles, he's fighting a guy that, while vulnerable everywhere, he's been knocked out twice and submitted twice. He's still well-rounded, really good everywhere. And he's a guy that if he's able to survive, I think, round 1 here, he's going to make this a dogfight, Trevin Giles. And I can't say he's comfortable in a dogfight, because a lot of times he's looked visibly uncomfortable and fatigued and whatever else. But I know he's been there before many times, and he will fight hard for 15 minutes. We've seen him do it multiple times. I mean, he's never lost a decision, so he's 5-0 via decision. But 2 of his losses did come in round 3, so there's that. But yeah, he's scratching clawed to win all those decisions against Preston Parsons, Louis Cochet, Roman Dolidze, James Krause. And you could argue he shouldn't have won some of those fights, specifically the Roman Dolidze fight, and some people would argue Krause. But my point is, again, he's comfortable fighting hard for 15 minutes, getting knocked around by some dangerous guys and not going anywhere, and fighting when he's exhausted. I don't know if Bonfim can do that yet. And it's always weird seeing a guy dragged into a fight like that for the first time. Now, yeah, Bonfim has won in round 3, but I think if he's in round 3 with Trevin Giles, it's going to be a totally different fight than he had in the LFA. Trevin Giles, he's got 2 submission losses and 2 TKO losses. The 2 subs come earlier in his UFC career to Zach Cummings and Gerald Mearshart. Both got him out of there with a guillotine in round 3. And, of course, Bonfim has a few guillotines on his record, and most impressively against Mounir Lazzez. So that's in my mind, of course. And his 2 TKO losses come to Michael Morales and Dricus du Plessis. 2 very strong physical strikers. Morales, one of those long guys with some Pereira power. And DDP, Dricus du Plessis, he'll be fighting for the middleweight title next. So no shame there. Also, I should mention this fight's at welterweight, because I know Giles has fluctuated. This is a welterweight fight. He's come back down to welterweight after moving up to middleweight. But here, you know, it wouldn't surprise me at all if Bonfim won. I do think if he won, he'd probably clip Trevin Giles first and then get him out of there with a guillotine choke or a submission like that. And I think that would be more likely to happen early, even though, again, Giles has only been tapped twice, and it was deep into the fight against solid grapplers. But I'm picking Trevin Giles. I think Trevin Giles is going to get past round 1, and then he's going to take over, start to win the jousting battle. He's got the 2 inches of reach, which will complement the jousting. And I think he's overall got good enough striking and enough 15-round experience and UFC experience where he's going to be the first guy to drag Bonfim into deeper waters and win a dogfight. You know, both guys getting busted up, maybe both guys getting hurt, scratching and clawing, and Giles who say what you will about the decisions, but he's 5-0 in decisions. This guy's been there and done that, and he's done it at the UFC level, and that's my pick. I want to see what the prop bets look like, but as of now, I've only thrown a little bit of money on Trevin Giles at plus 240, his money line. That's juicy enough for me, and I will probably look to hedge by betting on Gabriel Bonfim via finish and maybe round 1 finish, because I think if things go his way, they're really going to go his way, like they do in pretty much every other fight of his. So that's how I see the fight playing out. But I've got Giles surviving round 1. And he's historically been a tough guy to submit. I know he's been tapped twice, but again, those were deep into the fight against really good, especially third-round submission artists like Mearshard. And I think he gets past round 1 and makes this a much more competitive fight. And I've got him winning. So Trevin Giles is the pick. Like, share, subscribe, all that horse shit, and check out my other videos.